Hello there guys, and welcome back to the channel. Right, so Vox's deep dive is out finally, and even though we did already had the leaked abilities for Vox a couple days ago, this deep dive does offer us slightly more insight in his abilities and potential power level, and also made me come to a very important realization that kind of made me change my mind about Vox to a quite significant degree. For the good, on the good side, because I'm not going to lie. So far as information about Vox has been coming out, it has been going up and down. As I read his abilities on paper for the first time, seems like he's going to be quite good, potent, well-made character. I wasn't, as super hyped about him as many others were, but I thought he could potentially be very good. Then I saw the clip from the Twitch stream yesterday, and I immediately got a lot more worried because I saw that his own actual damage output is definitely not great, at least based on or looking at the deep dive. And also there was this degen rotation showcase where basically the degens were almost expired and the rotation was explained as get to 1.9 bars of power, throw your special attack, rush to 2 bars of power, and then when degens almost expired, throw your level 2. And if that's the case, if that actually would be the mandatory rotation for Vox to do damage, it would be pretty much useless. Because as long as there would be some sort of evade that doesn't allow you to be super aggressive, or if opponent doesn't want to throw a special attack, or if there's some unstoppable node, or if there's some other reason when you can't be aggressive and build your power fast, and you do not make level 2, and you lose your damage, then that would make him pretty much unplayable. Now, I'm quite happy with the fact that it doesn't necessarily seem to be the case. Deep Dive didn't say that exclusively, but I double-checked his abilities, I double-checked what the Deep Dive information gives us, and there doesn't seem to be a fourth rotation for Vox, in my opinion. Before I get any further, super important to remember that this is still very early on, and I am by no means encouraging you to make any final conclusions about Vox, nor I am trying to make any final conclusions about Vox. Champion's true value most of the time shines after the champion has been added to the game and, spent a month in the game or so. It's very silly to write off a character immediately, because countless times champions look amazing in deep dive and are disappointing in reality, or champions look disappointing in deep dive and are, you understand what I mean. Either they look good in deep dive and turn out to be bad, or they look bad in deep dive and turn out to be good. So anything can still happen because this is still very early on, and a lot depends on how many good matchups he has, how many bad matchups he has, so on and so forth. Right, the way he works is basically straightforward. You gain a lot of buffs by hitting opponent, furies on mediums, cruelties on lights. He can stack up precisions from dexterity and gain corrupted precisions. You can get undermines, vigilance, and intensify buffs, and then effectively convert them in degeneration. These corrupted buffs have 300% ability accuracy, and they basically bypass neutralize. However, if they do get nullified, you take a lot of damage. You take like 5% of your max health and damage, which also pretty much means that Vox will never be a big bad boss unless we're going to see some sort of nullify immunity node on him. And there will be a lot of interactions that will hinder Vox quite heavily with buffet nodes, with power snack nodes, so on and so forth. But it is important to know that his degen grows by 10% every second. It's on the opponent. Therefore, these numbers that you see in deep dive here are extremely unrealistic. As in, the degen will start significantly smaller, and it will only grow that big towards the very end of the duration of degeneration, but also pay attention to the number of degens, 72. In order to gain 72 buffs on Vox, that's not going to be a quick thing. But you're not going to be able to put up these numbers in like a casual, relatively short amount of fight, because he's kind of a ramp-up character to a degree as well. There is a max limit to his ramp-up, which is close to that 72, and initially you will not get, that. You'll still get a fair amount of degen damage, but this is not something that you'll be able to do very easily with, like, a couple of special attacks. Right, so moving forward, he's immune to poison, power burn, power drain, power lock, and special lock, which is great, because if anything hinders him from activating his special attacks, he's kind of screwed. The precision buffs granted by the dexterity mastery have no stack limit and fall off one at a time, and once they do fall off, they get converted into these corrupted precisions. Personal degenerations are paused during Vox's special attacks as long as the entire attack strikes the opponent. That's quite important because that will still be working towards damage increase as well. Now, corrupted buffs themselves, as I mentioned, have 300% ability accuracy, thus bypassing neutralized nodes, but when nullified, deal damage to you. When non-corrupted Fury, Cruelty, Precision armor-ups, Intensify, Undermines, or Vigilance buff expires on Vox, or any inhuman opponent, for any reason other than nullify, Vox gains corrupted version of these buffs. However, that cannot extend to more than 20% in case of Fury, 20% Fury. That's basically the story. Unfortunately, Vox's own personal buffs seem to be quite meager and weak on its base. I think on one of these slides we could see that it gave him like 255 attack bonus per Fury buff, and unless we're talking about like a 4-star or maybe 5-star, that's not going to be a major bonus unless there is some very potent interaction with those Intensify buffs specifically. And his special attacks are also, by the way, super easy. His level 1 basically gives you Undermine, which is counter to Unblockable. His level 2 gives you Vigilance, which is counter to Miss. And once they expire, they get turned into corrupted indefinite version. All of his corrupted buffs are permanent. So he can work, let's say, as a Penny Parker counter or as a Miss counter. But other than that, special attacks have no real specific properties, which is going to come very important later on in the video. There is some other inhuman mechanic on his level 3 that he has access to, like neutralize against inhumans and increased attack rating in general is level 3 ability. But the whole inhuman gimmick is just that, really. It's pretty much just a gimmick. Come on, there are like 5 champions in the game that are inhumans, and none of them are really, Medusa is a good defender, but how often you end up facing Medusas. So I think, honestly, all of those exceptions and extra abilities for Inhumans is more of a flavor text than actually useful thing that's going to be like extremely niche thing. Kind of like with Gore's God Charge abilities. How often it really makes a difference? Not often. Right. Here is the meat and bones of the Vox's kit, though. And this is also the most important part. So if you have made it this far in the video and are listening to me, that's great. Type in KT1 is awesome in comments or something like that, so I know. Because if you skip this part, then you're going to miss out on the biggest point that I'm trying to make in this video. So first of all, let's take a look on this special attack activation requirement and basically how his degenerations work. So if none of the Vox's personal degenerations are on the opponent, each corrupted buff on Vox inflicts a degeneration debuff that deals 200 direct damage over 13 seconds and consumes all your corrupted buffs. So, first special attack that you activate is going to inflict a bunch of degenerations. Now, if any of the Vox's personal degenerations are on the opponent, consume all of them and gain corrupted Intensify for each degen consumed. So you're effectively going to be shifting all the buffs, converting into degenerations, and then taking all of the degenerations up to 30 max, converting them to Intensify buffs. And then activate another special attack. You're going to have 30 Intensify buffs, some others, and you're going to be reactivating them as degeneration. So that's going to be the core loop. You use one special attack to place the degen, another one to take them back, next special attack to place these degens back on the opponent. These degeneration effects increase the damage they deal by 10% for each second they are on the opponent, thus drastically increasing the damage output. And that's your base rotation. Activate one special attack, place degens, second special attack, take them back, third special attack, put them back on. And that's more or less how it works. Right, special attack 3, as I mentioned, gives you extra damage, nothing too important. Sig ability can let you pause these degenerations for 2 seconds by striking the opponent's block once. This again is very important wording here. Each time Vox's personal degenerations are inflicted, the next time Vox strikes the opponent's block or the opponent activates unblockable or unstoppable effect, the degenerations are paused for 2 seconds. Super important because unlike Kate Bishop and some other champions, you can't do this repeatedly. You can only do it once after each time you have placed degens on. The other ability is actually the most important here for Vox. Contact with Vox's psi increases the damage active for each personal degeneration. So the more aggressive you are, whilst the degenerations are active, the more degen damage, the more it will increase. And the last ability is that you can basically half root yourself with a pre-fight. And when you're going to be dashing backwards, you will actually stay in your place. But when you dash forwards, you'll be able to dash forwards. Now, this can be helpful for high skill level players to stack up many precision buffs on yourself quickly by dexing special attacks and hits from opponents, combos to gain a whole bunch of buffs very fast. Then hit opponent, these precisions expire, get converted in corrupted buffs, and you gain more degens quicker. So, to utilize Vox to its fullest, if you are confident enough, this is definitely going to be a way to go in a lot of matchups. Back to the main topic and main loop, why I am more optimistic about Vox as a champion than I was yesterday. Because even in the full deep dive, we are clearly told that the rotation, ideal rotation for Vox is build up Vox to 1.9 bars of power, activate level 1, place degens on opponent, and then rush to level 2 to activate that just as degens are about to expire to, convert them back into your intensifies and then start the cycle. Because even at the very first glance, if we're told that this is the ideal rotation, and if we see that those degens are there one tick away from expiring, that's quite scary, because as soon again you encounter unstoppable, evade, stingy AI, all of this goes kaput and you lose your ramp up. And that is something you absolutely would not want. Now, luckily for us, the ideal rotation doesn't exist for Vox. In that sense, it doesn't matter which special you activate, level 1 or level 2. They both do exactly the same thing. Only difference is whether you gain vigilance buff or undermine buff. 9 fights out of 10, neither of those buffs is going to be important. But, definitely, as a miscounter, there will be fights when it is important, but in vast majority of the fights, it will not matter. It really will not matter whether you activate level 1 or level 2. And that pretty much changes everything. Because that means that you more than likely will have enough time to, at the very least, get to another special one. So if you activate your first level 1 with like 1.5 or whatever bars of power, you only need to get to another special 1 instead of special 2 to make it in time. Now, ideally, obviously, to maximize the damage, you do want to time it as close to the expiration of degenerations as possible, because that is how you can get your maximum damage. But there is zero real reason to throw specifically a level 2 or a level 1. Whichever special attack you're at any one of those given moments, is going to be fine. Because again, they both do the exact same thing. They basically transfer all the buffs into degens, or take all degens and transfer it into buffs. So there is no functional difference whether you use level 1 or level 2, unless you need that miss counter, for instance. And that automatically does, in fact, make him significantly more playable in somewhat trickier scenarios. So I have regained some hope for Vox, so to say. Now, that said again, I'm not still super blown away by him, because here we can see that, numbers-wise, as a ranked up 7-star, he at no point he had massive base damage on his regular hits, regardless of how many furies or cruelties he had, really. And the degen, again, it is quite big, but it's not completely blow you away type of size degen. Especially because keep in mind, it looks like 21 degens at the very end deal 9k. But they start much, much, much lower. So if we take a look at after these synergy clips, for instance, with Vox, I believe those degens were like couple hundred or like 800, something like that per tick there in this fight at the very beginning. So we'll see. Again, this is one of those things that you just need to wait for a champion to be added and see how many matchups he takes well, how many matchups he takes poorly, and all that other stuff. But so far, I will definitely say that I'm still more interested in Photon on a personal level. But I do think that the fact that you don't need to barely make it to Special 2 is a massive, massive upside for a champion and made me much more hopeful for him. Now, synergy-wise, there isn't anything too special. He gains 2% attack rating for each other Vox on a team, which is something you will pretty much never do anyways. Then you have for each Inhuman a Vox has defeated over the course of the quest. They start the fight with a Corrupted Intensify. Again, how many Inhumans you will typically meet in a quest. Pretty much pointless synergy for Vox. Or Inhuman Royal Family start the fight with an indefinite Fury buff. For each Inhuman a Vox has defeated over the course of the quest, each granting 30% attack rating. Again, how many Inhumans do you see in quests? How often? You know? Or now and then gaining like a small bonus. I just think this whole Inhuman hunting thing is lore accurate, but the way it has been implemented in the game is a bit of a gimmick, given that there are like 5 Inhuman champions in a game, and yeah, only one of them is kind of like semi-popular at the moment, which would be like Medusa, and even she's not even close to the meta. So yeah, nah. Synergy members lose additional 5% health from Double Edge Mastery, but it grants additional 10% rating. Again, it's neat, it's nothing game-breaking, I would say. And yeah, I think that's about it. And there's another synergy with Mantis, I believe, when incoming sleep effects gain extra duration, but lose duration, but grant a 50% Fury buff for 3 seconds when they expire. Something interesting, but yeah. Synergy-wise, I think most of them are quite useless, honestly. So that's more or less Vox. Definitely will be looking forward to seeing more gameplay for him. I'm, again, by no means making any final conclusions about the champion, but I'm not super hyped about it. I think it could work out quite well because the degen damage could be quite solid. At the same time, there are a lot of inherent weaknesses into his kit. It's time sensitive, entirely relies on having access to buffs and debuffs. Very big weakness to nullify, and not a massive base damage. So I don't see him becoming like one of the top cosmic powerhouses, but who knows? Again, not jumping to any conclusions. Definitely will look forward to any and all new gameplay footage, and will look forward to getting this guy myself to test out his damage, compare it, how it works in actually short, realistic fights, and so on and so forth. Let me know what you guys think, and I will catch you guys soon. Bye. Hello there guys, and welcome back to the channel. So we have all the information about